On August 9th, we're going to have a full moon in Aquarius that not only closes the lunation cycle loop from the new moon in Aquarius over the winter, late January, but also the new moon in Leo we just had a couple of weeks back. Now, that is actually really important to note, and I'm going to dive into that today just briefly in the beginning of this conversation, because the full moon in Aquarius, this coming full moon in Aquarius, is actually very potent for all of the Aquarius parts of our lives, that whole sign house in our birth chart, wherever Aquarius is, because we have a lot going on in the sky, my friends, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, because the astrology has been thick, and ripe. So what's really interesting about this lunation cycle is that this new moon in Leo that we just had really happened right at the beginning of the Mercury retrograde, when it first went retrograde. I think it literally went retrograde a day or two before that new moon in Leo, and then we started having this beginning of the waxing phase of leading up until this full moon in Aquarius. And what else is going on in the sky is literally at the time of this full moon, Mars has just entered Libra, creating that grand air trine, that kite, and also just all of that powerful energy where Mercury is now sort of stationing, or definitely at the time of this full moon, stationing retrograde at 4 degrees, ready to go, or not stationing retrograde, it is retrograde still, about to station direct at 4 degrees a couple of days later. So that is like so symbolic, guys, because we are definitely talking about a moon that involves mental breakthroughs. We are definitely talking about a Mercury-ruled decan where this full moon will be falling. And the tarot card association with this decan is something we're also going to talk about in a little bit, because that very much paints the picture of this lunation cycle's main message for us all. And of course, on the world stage, perhaps. Now, when I bring in stuff with the world stage, guys, I really have to always shout from the mountaintops that the way that these energies and these lunation cycles and transits express on the world stage versus our own lives can be completely different. So when I delineate or make suggestions or forecasting for anything that might go on in the world, like, I really want you to understand that has nothing to do with the way that that can express in our own life, because we all are living our own karmas, truth, our own journeys, and that is why we experience everything so differently, you know? I mean, we all have an Aquarius part of our birth chart, that whole sign house, and that place represents a particular theme of life, and that is where this story is unfolding. Okay, same with Mars and Libra and where this grand air trine is happening in your birth chart. All of that plays into the unique story that is your life. On the world stage, there's going to be always a completely different energy and expression through these archetypes and through these symbolisms. So that's something I just always want to drive home for you guys. But this is a full moon where breaking free from mental patterns is extremely important. We're dealing with breaking barriers involving innovation, inventiveness, thought, and awakening. So Aquarius, guys, we have to remember what Aquarius is all about. It's fixed air, steady in vision, but mental and social in nature. So this is a very mental energy. Okay. And when I get to the tarot card association with this, guys, it's really going to ring true, I think, for a lot of us, because we all are leaving something behind. We all have to get real with something we need to leave behind in that Aquarius part of our life. Okay. And yeah, wherever Leo is as well, because that's where the sun is shining. So there is this duality and this polarity between that Leo part of your life that's very important to understand, because that Leo part of our life is really where the heart and the ego kind of energy and this desire to be seen is there. You know, there's a powerful aspect of our life in the Leo part of our life that definitely wants that attention and to be seen. But that opposite end of our birth chart, wherever Aquarius is, this is another place where we want to be different. We actually are a little colder there. We might actually be a little bit more unique and different than the rest of our life in the scheme of like whatever our other themes of life are, you know, like whatever else is going on in your life via the other houses of the zodiac, those other themes of life. Aquarius is that part of our life where we want to be a little different. You know, we're kind of more like the black sheep there, if you will. And the core archetypes of Aquarius are the revolutionary thinker, the visionary, the outsider. See, that outsider energy of like, okay, I want to be different. I want to be unique. I want to, you know, if you have Aquarius in the 4th house, you may be the black sheep of your family growing up, or you may want to have a family structure that's just different than everybody else's, you know? So Aquarius is a beautiful zodiac sign. I know a lot of beautiful Aquarius people out there. And I think when we deal with a lunation cycle in Aquarius, we're dealing with this revealing, because that's what full moons are all about, guys. They're a revealing, they're the end, they're the illumination of a process of awakening, of experience. And when we deal with when we're dealing with this particular full moon, there is a lot going on involving the clarity that we are longing for in a lot of parts of our lives. And then again, this beginning of this Mars grand trine, okay? Mars in Libra. Libra's getting super activated right now in our birth charts. So after, honestly, like I said in one of my recent videos, the only thing that went on in Libra in recent memory was just the full moon we had over the winter. And yeah, we had some eclipses, and yeah, just the lunation cycles. I mean, tell me, when was the last time anything massive happened in Libra aside from the eclipses and the lunation cycles of recent past? Now we are having this massive grand air trine happening days before, or actually it's really perfecting, to be honest with you. Like the day of this full moon, Mars will be at 1 degree, going opposite Saturn and Neptune. That is massive, my friends. This is rocket fuel for clarity, and rocket fuel also for conflict and tension within the Libra and Aries parts of our life. And in my last video that I did on Mars, I made it very clear we shouldn't fear that opposition, because this is kind of the stuff we need right now in order to get a little bit more real in our situations. Because as soon as all these outer planets shifted into the new zodiac signs, especially Saturn and Neptune and that Aries part of our life, that cardinal energy, which is really trying to dream a new version of ourself into being there. And I would say that that Aries part of our life is, I don't want to say one of the most important parts of these outer planet transits, but because that is like the tip of both of the sextiles coming from Uranus and Pluto, that Aries fuel is so important. That Saturn energy and that Neptune energy is so important for this dreamy quality of awakening and structuring something very new and concrete in our life to become solid over the next couple of years, to be honest. Because as Saturn and Neptune are conjunct like this, and then when they become super conjunct again in Aries, the winter into the spring 2026, this is really when we're getting our heavy doses of, oh, this is who I think I am now. Ooh, this is where I think my greatest lesson of initiating and my nature of becoming really kicks online. So this Mars opposition is so massive because Mars rules Aries, of course. Mars is in exile right now in Libra, and Saturn actually is in fall because Saturn is exalted in Libra. So there's actually like this weird conversation happening between Saturn and Mars that is quite interesting, because they're both really not in a place they like to be, but they're trying their best to work together. And this is very uncomfortable. And this is kind of why I feel so many of us are disoriented and have been trying to navigate just everything in their lives in the best way possible, even though some days that's really difficult, and I understand that. And on the world stage, this is why nothing feels real, guys. This is why everything feels like, what the fuck is going to happen next? Like, where is the future going? This is why, because we are in the middle of a cataclysmic collective shift of consciousness, and we are in the middle of a massive shift of leadership and the way the world is run. And I think this full moon in Aquarius will tie right in to a lot of that story, guys. I mean, we have so much going on in American politics, global politics. We have so much going on with war stuff, right? I mean, I did mention something about the Gaza in my last video. You know, I don't touch on crazy, like hardcore political themes in my videos, but there's a lot going on in the collective vision and the collective story. And with Jupiter and Neptune, I mean, and Jupiter and Venus now in Cancer, where the well-being of humanity and what is going to be the most suitable way forward is front and center, guys. I mean, there is nothing but conversations left and right on how can we make this world a better place, or what powerful figures are destroying the world right now, or reversing laws that were once put in place to protect the safety of the world, or whatever you want to say, climate stuff. If you are a climate, if you believe in climate change, like people are reversing laws on that. Okay, I think anyone that's trying to reverse a law on anything that is only beneficial for the planet or for people is a lunatic. So, I mean, we're in the middle of really powerful shifts when we deal with this Pluto and Aquarian age, and of course the Uranus and Gemini age, and now, of course, the Neptune in Aries age, with this beginning phase of Saturn being there. So this full moon not being necessarily in the crosshairs of the Grand Trine, but the Grand Trine is happening. And to me, this is extremely, extremely important to note, my friends. Now, before I continue, I would just like to say, if you are enjoying this video thus far, if you've seen any of my other videos prior to this one, it would mean a lot if you could consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video. All that stuff really helps, guys, the channel's growth. And over the last 8 months, I can't believe we've got to 25,000 subscribers. It's absolutely mind-blowing to me after just starting this channel like maybe 11 or 12 or 13 months ago. And like, I'm just so blessed and happy that I could be someone for you that expresses this astrology stuff and this beautiful system of divine orchestration. So yeah, and we like to muse here on astrology, and I like to teach you guys stuff. I have a lot of courses and classes coming in 2026, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, and if you'd like to book readings with me, I would love to meet you. I have a couple of spots left in August, but September is very much open, so please book with me before slots fill up. But yeah, my friends, let's just get right back into this video. I'm trying to make these videos a little bit shorter, by the way, too. I mean, I know a lot of you guys like when I just keep yapping away, and trust me, I could talk about astrology forever, which is why like I'm so stoked to be making courses next year, because you guys are going to get a lot of me yapping away while I teach you a lot of stuff. And just to tease on the courses, the first thing I'm going to be teaching in January for about 6 to 7 weeks is a Decan course. It's going to be called 36 Mysteries, Decans, and Tarot, where we literally go through the history of the Decans and through literally every single Decan there is, and breaking it down in detail with the tarot card associations. And then probably next summer, I have the beginning, my first year of a massive Foundations of Astrology masterclass kind of course. So that's going to be for anybody who wants to dive deeper into serious astrological knowledge, but it will be digestible for beginners, everybody at all skill levels. But the philosophy, the history of astrology, the techniques, my worldview, and how I view all of this stuff. So I would love to be your teacher when that stuff comes around. But that all being said, we are dealing with a 16, 17 degree Aquarius full moon, guys. This is falling in the second decan of Aquarius, which is ruled by Mercury. Now, this decan is also ruled by the Six of Swords in the tarot. So the Six of Swords, my friends, we are dealing with symbolism around the turbulence towards we're dealing with turbulence towards clarity, but as we all know, this card reflects a moving away from something that we were once a part of. We are moving from one shore to a new shore. We are looking at the boat, right, with the mother and child, or the two figures there being rowed across to an unknown place. So guiding us through grief or uncertainty. So we are moving through whatever the Five of Swords was bringing us. Remember, guys? So we're moving away from conflict of some kind, and we have some kind of awakening that we must move on. So this Six of Swords to me is kind of, if I have like a phrase in my mind to use here, it's like, I know what I must do, but it still hurts. I know what decision I need to make, but it still doesn't feel right, and I'm not okay with it totally. And it's okay. Like, again, I think I described this energy in this card recently to someone like, listen, like, there's a new decision that needs to be made, and it's the right decision, but your heart and your emotions don't necessarily want to follow the logic. And I think this is a very important time for us to analyze our logic and our reasoning behind something in that Aquarius part of our life, even the Leo part of our life, guys. Because remember, that new moon triggered something that was the beginning of something big for the culmination of the waxing phase of this lunation cycle. So for me, the Six of Swords, we're talking about the passage here. So to me, that's kind of also the message I would like to bring forth for you. Intuitively, that's kind of like the word ringing in my brain right now. It's the passage. So this passage from one beach to another, from one shoreline to a distant shoreline. And we don't know where that shoreline is. We don't know what that shoreline is, but we kind of have a feeling it's where we're supposed to go, And the Mercury quality to this full moon in this decan to me is like transitional. Okay, it's a bridge from old patterns to new insights. It encourages strategic emotional detachment, clarity through stepping back. So again, that's kind of like how I'm interpreting this for all of us. So really analyze that Aquarius part of your life, that whole sign house. Please let me know where that is in your birth chart. Let's talk about it in the comments. And I said this in my monthly forecast too about detachment, like strategic emotional detachment. And I know that that's something we're not supposed to do in the healing process in the self and spiritual development world. Like, don't detach from your emotions. Everyone says, like, we need to feel everything. And that's totally true. But there are some things in this world, there are some things we go through that we really have to, like, again, we might feel something, we might have an emotional attachment to something, but the reality is we start to awaken in our mind that, wow, this really isn't like what's right for me, or wow, this really wasn't the path I was supposed to go down, or oh wow, this really isn't the future that I was supposed to explore. This wasn't really the career path I was supposed to explore. This really isn't the president I voted for. Everyone is going to have their own version of like, wow, like in my heart, I'm kind of hurt and grieving that like maybe this thing I had my heart sent and my emotions set on is not really what I'm supposed to be doing. It's not really what I'm supposed to be believing in anymore. It's more about, okay, let me move on now. Let me step back and get clear and move forward somewhere else, guys. So this is kind of big for awakening, for again, back to the beginning of the video when I said breaking through mental breakthroughs, breaking barriers of innovation, inventiveness, thought, and awakening. So breaking through the veil of things that were once clouding us or making us feel confused or like we were stuck or something. And I know we can all argue that we're always kind of feeling this stuck, confusing energy, especially during this day and age. But I mean, I feel like with this Mercury retrograde, and again, back to that new moon in Leo, and again, back to all the stuff happening now with Mars and this grand air trine and this Kite and all this other stuff, and with Mercury hovering at 4 degrees, the degree it will go direct in a couple of days, this full moon is definitely going to trigger, again, more of that, oh, wow, I really feel like I need to move on from this thing. I really feel I need to take a step back and get out of my emotions for a second, think clearly so I can move forward, so I can just have that trust that whatever is going to come next is probably what I'm supposed to do. Even if I feel a little lost or a little abandoned or a little, sad right now in some way, shape, or form. Now, this Mercury stationing or Mercury at 4 degrees hovering, right? Retrograde. This is critical because this is like, this mental energy feels very heavy, pressurized, and unavoidable. So I'm not saying this full moon is going to be easy at all. I'm not saying this is going to feel good at all. All I'm saying is that there's a massive truth there. There is a massive mental liberation there. Okay. And when we deal with the other decans, by the way, with the outer planets, which I've discussed before, There is a lot going on in the collective right now that is all about the swords, right? We have the 5 of swords that rules the first decan of Aquarius, where Pluto is. So again, we're already dealing with a massive collective shift involving 5 of swords energy, which is really about conflict and just, again, this struggle for like, okay, well, which path do we take? But really the 5s and the minor arcana are all about imbalance and conflict and trying to figure some shit out. And again, that 6 of swords where this full moon is falling is it's that next journey after the 5 of swords. So again, it's that path of, okay, we must move on now. And when Pluto gets to that second decan, probably in 6 or 7 years from now, like that's the kind of energy I think the collective is really going to be feeling like, wow, I think it's time to move on. And I have some political intuitions and some psychic insight on that, and I'm not going to get into that now, but I mean, it all tracks with where we are right now. There's going to be a collective moment where we all are like, holy shit, I think we need to move the fuck on from everything we've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years. And then Uranus is all about that 8 of swords energy, right? Uranus will be in that first decan of Gemini, which is ruled by Jupiter. So we are looking for a deeper meaning in the Gemini part of our life in some way, shape, or form, in all of those aspects going to the outer planets. Gemini, Uranus is sextiling the early degrees of Aries. Uranus is trining Pluto in Aquarius. And again, that 8 of swords, which rules that first decan of Gemini, is all about mental imprisonment and mental entrapment. And the goal and the task is to break free from that. Okay. So this full moon, with this Mercury moments, because Mercury at 4 degrees Leo is also having a conversation with all of these outer planets, guys. Mercury is at 4 degrees, which is close enough to have that sextile to Uranus, which is going opposite Pluto in Aquarius, which is like a pressure cooker. Okay, this is where the world stage shit, like keep your eye on what goes down on the world stage in the next week. Okay, because this is like going to be some serious energy. We have the Mercury, the planet of communication, thought, the mind, intellect, going opposite Pluto in Aquarius, which is really where we're dealing with the powerful nature of the world, right? Those leadership roles, those people in power, and again, the systems in place. And this is where we have to really keep our eye on, because this is why that full moon, again, is going to be so powerful, because this opposition is intense. This amplifies the deep insights that we're going to have in our own life. This amplifies the confrontations with truth that we are going to have to face, and the confrontations with truth that the world is going to have to face. And this is just part of the game. So expect revelations, realignments, epiphanies in thought, speech, and in perspective during these last couple of days of the Mercury retrograde. And I would argue that most of us are already kind of through the thick of the Mercury retrograde energy. But at the same time, I feel like this is one of those Mercury retrogrades, even in my life, guys, where usually I'm like halfway through the transit and I kind of have my answers to some of my decision making and some of my concerns. Because again, Mercury retrograde for me is always a review and a reflection around a massive decision that I'm just on the fence about. And I'll tell you right now, like I'm still in the thick of navigating what this Mercury retrograde is all about. So this is kind of one of those longer ones that may take the rest of the summer to figure out. So, and I think this full moon in Aquarius is going to, again, sort of illuminate and reveal something that is going to be huge for this process, for this Mercury retrograde. So this Mercury retrograde hovering, going opposite Pluto and aspect in the other planets is massive, guys. And I think this will definitely be relevant and also helpful, I think, for the realization that that 6 of Swords energy is right in our fucking face, and we need to pay attention to what that's all about. And we need to think versus totally feel into stuff that's going on right now, because I think we're only going to get through this by thinking our way through it. And I know a lot of people in the spiritual communities hate that, because we need to get out of our monkey mind most of the time. But there's some things in life where in this monkey meat suit that we're wearing, in this very dualistic world of conflict, we have to learn how to navigate this in a very mental, logical, reason type way. And that is just the facts of being a human being. So guys, I think that's really all I have to say with this video today. I mean, there's so much more I could probably go into, but mental liberation, intellectual rebirth, strategic detachment to navigate what we're supposed to be doing next, where we're supposed to be going next, how we're supposed to be thinking about something next. And this is we need a new vision, this new vision of something. And that's kind of what I'm getting now too intuitively. It's like the words, this is my vision. What is your vision now? Ask yourself, what is your vision? What do you need to still be developing a new vision for yourself right now? Because I know I still need to develop a new vision for myself and things that I've been greatly trying to change in the last couple of months in my life. And I feel that the Mars in Libra stuff is going to activate something huge for us. So I really want us to get to the new moon in Virgo, to be honest. I want us to get through August and then through eclipse season. And I can't wait for our conversations as we get through eclipse season, my friends, and as we get into the fall, because this is where I think we're really going to have more conversations here where we're getting clearer on stuff, where we're getting more developed in a way, where we're starting to really understand the nature of our lives and stuff that we're trying to figure out in a really, really big way. So step out of old mental patterns, old mental waters, and move forward, my friends. We need to get out of some of these old mental patterns that we've been existing within. And I think this is an initiation of some kind. So we have to be clear on that this is an initiation and a collective passage. Again, that boat in the Six of Swords card, right? This is a passage from confusion to clarity. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is not going to be a quick fix. This is just the beginning. I feel like every lunation cycle, every major transit is like one more lily pad to lily pad that we're hopping to get more and more clear. And I'm telling you, by spring, summer 2026, and I tell all of my clients this, and sometimes they roll their eyes like, oh my God, like I'm not going to get clear until then. And I'm like, this astrology is too thick. We have Saturn and Neptune retrograde going back into Pisces, then going to go back into Aries. We have Uranus that's going to retrograde back into Taurus and then get back into Gemini, April 2026. And then when Jupiter gets into Leo next summer, my friends, I mean, this is where we're really all waking up, okay? This is when the flame is really activated and when we're the most clear we've ever been, when all of these outer planets are truly locked into the new zodiac signs. And honestly, when Jupiter gets into Leo, it's on, okay? Because we've been having so many Leo activations, right? We've been having so many Cancer Leo activations over the last year, with the Mars retrograde and all this other stuff. And with the Mars transit, literally that just happened, period, when it went direct through everything. So once Jupiter gets to Leo, forget about it. We are definitely going to be in a place where we're more and more awake and clear on a lot of things. So we have to just, be kind to ourselves and be, just very logical too. Like, this is what I tell everybody, guys. We need to be spiritual and calm and center ourselves and calm the mind, especially with Uranus and Gemini now. But at the same time, we need to really get mentally sharp in order to navigate the terrain of the political landscape, the geopolitical nonsense, and also our own lives and the decisions we need to make for ourselves if we want a better life, if we want better circumstances. That is going to be figured out with the logical mind, along with our intuitive heart. That's all I have for you today, my friends. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.